There is a kind of provision that comes easy, and there is a kind of provision that costs you something. Today, I want to talk about the kind of grace that shows up in the hardest hours, even at 2 a.m., even when you are exhausted, even when your body is doing something your heart can barely keep up with. I want to tell you something about my body, something I didn't expect, something that quietly became one of the most profound lessons God has taught me through motherhood. Because sometimes God doesn't speak through a mountain or a burning bush or a dramatic moment. Sometimes He speaks through a breast pump at 2 o'clock in the morning when you are sitting in the dark, tired, and wondering if you can keep going. Let me take you back. When my first child was born, I struggled to produce enough milk. I was mixed feeding. That was fine. I was doing my best. The most important thing is a well-fed child. But I always felt like my body wasn't quite enough. I carried that quietly. That feeling of lack. That feeling of, why isn't this working the way it should? Fast forward to my second child, my son. He latched right away, and I thought this time will be different. But then he had jaundice. He was readmitted to the hospital. Those bright phototherapy lights, that small hospital cot, and me standing in the outside of it with arms that just wanted to hold him. When we finally came home, something had shifted. He couldn't latch anymore. I could see the desire in him. He would try, he would get close, but he just couldn't hold on. And so I made a decision. Every 2 to 3 hours, day and night, I would set my alarm, wash my bottles, sterilize everything, hook myself up to a pump and express. Not because it was easy, because it was necessary. There were nights I sat there, half asleep, eyes barely open, asking God if this was sustainable, asking if I could keep going, asking if it was even worth it. And then something happened that I didn't expect. My body started to respond, not with just enough, with more than enough. The same body that struggled with my first child was now producing abundantly for my second. Same woman, different season, different grace. And I had to stop and ask myself, what changed? Because I didn't change my diet dramatically. I didn't do anything extraordinary. I just kept showing up, even when I was tired, even when it felt like too much, even in the middle of the night when no one was watching. And slowly, what felt like lack became overflow. Because I don't think this is just a breastfeeding story. I think it is a story about how God works. Because there are seasons in our lives where we feel like we are not producing enough, not praying enough, not strong enough in our faith, not doing enough for God. And we carry that quietly, that feeling of spiritual lack, that sense that something in us isn't working the way it should. But what if the issue isn't your capacity? What if you are simply in a different season? What if God is not looking at what you produced last time, but at what He is building in you right now? Because here is what I know about my body. I didn't produce abundantly because I forced it. It produced abundantly because I was consistent, because I kept showing up, even when the results didn't come immediately, even when I was running on empty, even when the process was uncomfortable. And I believe that is exactly how God grows us. Not through pressure, not through perfection, but through faithfulness in the small, unseen moments. The quiet prayers, the worship when you don't feel like it, the choosing to trust Him even when you can't see what He is doing. That is the pumping. That is the 2 a.m. faithfulness that nobody sees but God. And just like my body surprised me, God will surprise you in the very area where you felt lacking. He will bring overflow in the very season that felt like too much to carry. He will show you what he has been building. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9. I want you to hear that today, not as a nice verse, but as a promise that is alive. His power is made perfect in your weakness. Not after you've fixed the weakness, not when you finally get it together. In the weakness, in the exhausted nights, in the season of lack, in the moments where you feel like your body, your faith, your strength is not enough. That is exactly where His grace steps in, and it will be more than enough. It always is. So today, gently ask yourself, where have I been measuring myself by last season's capacity, when God has been preparing me for a new kind of overflow? Father, thank you that your grace is not one size fits all. Thank you that you meet us differently in every season, but you always meet us in the moments we feel like we are not enough. Remind us that your power is made perfect there. Help us to keep showing up even when the results are not visible, and let us trust that what feels like lack today is becoming overflow in your hands. Amen.